but we're still alive. So, we're in Japan!
Yeah!
Yay!
So this is going to be a really rambly video, so we'll warn you this time in advance to get a snack, but we're going to tell you a little story about how we got deported.
Yes, and it was the nicest deportation.
Right, we'll start with that. It's like the kindest deportation you could hope for. But anyway, so we're going to go into a little more detail about when we came out here and the situation with the school. We kind of briefly went over it in our first video, but we figure it warrants maybe some more explanation since we are in our current predicament.
Right.
So we were offered jobs as a couple with a school here in Korea. Well, they're in Korea. We're in Japan now. But anyway, they're in Korea and everything was going great. And then about a week before we were supposed to leave, Clint and his brother were on like a bro trip.
Hey, that was cool. Bro trip. Right?
They were, getting barbecue in Austin. Anyway, and he got a call from our recruiter, Tara, who's been wonderful and really helpful. But she called and told him that she had placed a female teacher in that same school a while ago, and her contract had been up in August, and the school asked her to continue while they found somebody to replace her.
Which was us, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
While they looked for a replacement teacher, and they asked her to stay through September, and she agreed, and they told her that they would pay her an extra month pay and pay her severance and get her ticket home and all that stuff. So September comes, it's nearing the end, and they haven't booked her a ticket. From what I can gather, she had probably been asking them about it, and they just been kind of blowing her off and saying, oh yeah, we'll get to it.
Right.
So that did not happen. So she contacted Tara and the girl contacted the Korean Labor Board. They got involved, and they seemed to be on their side for a while, and then all of a sudden they just got told, nope, she's in the wrong, so she doesn't get her pay, she doesn't get anything, which probably means that somebody paid off somebody in the Korean Labor Board, which is the thing that happens, and it just happens. So anyway, Tara, being very sweet, called us and said, I'm not sending you to the school, it's not a good situation, the director's terrible, which is a real risk you can get when you do hagwons instead of public schools in Korea. So it was really, like I said in the first video, it was a little scary for a while, but anyway, it all worked out. But that's the whole situation with what happened. So when we applied for our visas, we originally applied going to that school, being employed by that school. We got our visas back just like a day after we found out about the situation, because we had already mailed them in. So we got them back, and by then we knew that I was teaching at a different school.
Yeah, she had a school already lined up for Rhiannon. I obviously am still jobless. So we came out.
Well, we asked her first before we came out, is it okay that these visas say a different school? And she said, oh yeah, it'll be no problem.
Said,
just come over.
It'll be fine. Just come over.
No problem.
So everything for the first week was great. Rhiannon went to her...
I taught for a week.
Yeah, she taught for a week. She went to the immigration office to get her alien registration card. When we got there was a whole ordeal because on our visas it says that we're teaching for EASM, and Rhiannon was not teaching for them. So normally all that would have to happen is that school would sign a paper releasing Rhiannon from her contract and saying it's okay if she works for this other school.
But our recruiter and the director have been through this before, I guess.
Beef. They're like old school Korean enemies. Like,
this is a thing with them. So the immigration officer that I was talking to was like, I know both of them, and they've been in this situation before. So I totally just lost my train of thought. So anyway, we were told that we would have to leave the country, apply for another visa, come back into the country under that new visa, and then I could teach and whatever. So I taught one more day at the school, and then I was told you shouldn't come back until you have the new visa, because in this whole process of like talking to immigration, and that's a whole long story too, and it's probably just really boring to you guys. It was really stressful for me because I was by myself. But anyway, the guy tried to get me to talk to the director, and at first I tried to call her, and there was this like, I guess from the very beginning she was iffy. Like when we originally tried to do our interview with her, she was on the phone for about 10 seconds, and then she kind of sounded frustrated and said that she couldn't do it right then, so she was just going to let us talk to her manager. So we ended up talking to the other girl at the school, and she was really sweet, so we had a good feeling about it. But I guess we should have hindsight's 2020. Now I'm like, oh, all these signs. But anyway, so I tried to call her, and they answered, and I couldn't understand what they were saying. So I handed the phone to my director, and he translated, and he said, okay, she wants us to call back in 10 minutes. And I was like, okay, great. So we called back 10 minutes later, no answer. Called back 10 more minutes later, no answer. Like it just rang and rang and rang. When before somebody had clearly picked up the phone. So
they're kind of like dodging the call, dodging the conversation.
And in the meantime, my recruiter, Tara, our recruiter, called and said, don't talk to her, don't speak to her. All she'll try and do is say, oh no, I'm such a nice lady, Tara's a liar, you should come teach for my school, because they want a teacher. They're without a teacher right now. So but she was like, don't let her find out where you're teaching right now, because she can make it horrible for you. And so
so basically Rhiannon was told not to come back this past Friday,
I don't know what that sound is. If you can hear it, it's outside. But anyway.
So yeah, Rhiannon was told not to come back on Friday because the other school could send the cops, and if they catch Rhiannon teaching with
we could be like
visa,
deported.
we'll be actually deported instead of like kindly asked to leave.
And then my school probably could have been fined. It could have been really bad.
It could have been a really bad situation. So anyway, we got the information on how to do a visa run to Japan, which really had me like freaked out whenever I found out about it. Like I was like
the most panicked I've ever seen you in our relationship, which panicked me because you're not the panicker in this relationship.
Because we have MISO to worry about and everything like that, and we have to get to another country and kind of do the visa thing here and then go back. Well, anyway, read about it. It's super simple, super easy.
People were like, it's kind of a rite of passage. Yeah, like everybody ends up having to do it.
You're going to end up doing it eventually. So at least we know now, like whenever we start our next new contracts, we'll have to do the same thing and it won't be a big deal.
And a real quick shout out to my Hagwon. The obvious issue here is that if we get new visas under a new school, when Clint comes back, he's not working for the same school that I am. But my director was really cool, and he was just like, we'll sponsor his visa, and when he does find a job with another school, we'll just sign the paper that says it's okay for him to go teach somewhere else. They've been incredible.
Fantastic.
They felt really bad that we had to like pay out of pocket for this trip to Japan and all that stuff, and I'm having to take my winter break now, and I don't get it obviously in December, which kind of stinks, but our plan was to come to Japan in December on our winter break anyway, so it's just kind of like we're taking the trip much earlier. But they were really sweet. I don't know. They've just been really great. So I feel very lucky to be in a Hagwon that's not like the one that we were almost into.
Not the nightmare. Yeah.
And then
she's got a really good situation.
Sorry, sidetrack real quick. The people that we left MISO with in Korea to watch him, we were talking about it and we told them what school it was, and they were like, oh my goodness, yeah, that school's terrible. Like it's been blacklisted.
They interviewed with that school. They were signing contracts before they finally heard from the other foreign teacher there that said it's a terrible situation.
And they posted in the group that we're in, that we found them through. They posted and they're like, hey, what is the school like? And everyone was like, do not go to that school. That school is terrible. And there's a lot of them. It's not just like one school.
It's a brand, or it's a
franchise or something of schools. So anyway, we're in Japan.
The visa thing is totally easy. We just filled out some new paperwork. We had to go turn a couple of things into the Korean Consulate here, which is literally like a 5-minute walk from our Airbnb, which is great. But we get there today and we find out that the pictures that we brought for our visa application are too small. Fortunately, they have a little photo booth for $5 there that you can take the appropriately sized pictures in.
Which is genius.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So we did that. Turn our paperwork in. Well, originally Tara, our recruiter, had told us that here in Osaka, the turnaround time is 2 to 3 business days. So we started the process today, hoping to pick up our visas on Thursday and fly out on Friday. Well, whenever we turned in our visa paperwork, we found out that they're not going to be ready until Friday, 3 hours after our flight leaves, and there's no way, like, we have to be there to pick them up. So now we're having to work with our airline to try and change our flight.
There's a flight that night, but there's only 6 seats
there are
left.
only 6 seats left.
But we can't book until tomorrow because
Yeah.
they haven't processed our first credit card payment, and so until they process that, they can't return
It's crazy.
it. It's so annoying. It's
Yeah.
unnecessary.
And
like
we're talking
steps.
about this like in present time because we just went through it. Like by the time this video gets up, we'll hopefully be back in Korea with no problems, and
we'll
maybe
be
I'll have
over
a
it.
job, and we'll be over it. But we kind of wanted to give you guys an update about what's going on because, you know, this is kind of what the vlog is for, just kind of telling you guys what's going on. And hopefully maybe some naive person down the line who wants to teach in Korea will come across this and say, hey, you know what? We better make sure all of our crap is together before we come out here because it could cause a lot of problems. And it's not even like big problems. It's like minor inconveniences along the way.
But just a lot of them.
They all add up, and we're just ready to be done like with everything and get into a routine and settle down.
And I think the thing that's hard for me is I started teaching for like a week, and it was great, and I was having so much fun, and I was really enjoying myself. And then all of a sudden I'm told, you should probably not come back until after you get your visa stuff figured out. Which is fine, but it's just frustrating because I'm doing what I want to do, and I finally started, and it's just annoying. So, and it's just a process that's a process. I cried again in the Korean consulate today in Japan. Osaka, Japan has seen my tears. Probably my eyes are probably still puffy because I cried pretty hard. But anyway.
But I mean, we kind of came to the realization whenever this first started happening that we came out here expecting an adventure and expecting to be on an adventure.
And we expected things to go wrong.
Yeah, we knew things weren't going to go smoothly.
Yeah.
So we're just viewing all this stuff as kind of like...
You're dealing with so many different governments.
Yeah, a step in the story that we're going to be telling eventually later on down the line. So
we'll laugh about this later.
Yeah.
It'll be so funny.
Yeah.
Much later.
Much later. But anyway, that's our update. We love you guys. Thank you for watching. Positive thoughts and vibes from halfway across the world are very much appreciated. So next videos you see will probably be much more happy and
we
much more
sure
fun.
hope so. I'm over this business.
Yeah, this is nonsense. So anyway, we love you guys. Bye.
Bye.